Our next lesson here this morning is a reading from Luke chapter 9, starting with verse 18. Once when Jesus was praying in private and his disciples were with them, he asked them, "Who do the crowds say that I am?" And they replied, "Some say John the Baptist. Others say Elijah, and still others that one of the prophets of long ago has come back to life. But what about you?" he asked them. "Who do you say that I am?" Peter answered, "The Christ of God." Jesus strictly warned them not to tell this to anyone, and he said, "The Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and he must be killed, and on the third day be raised to life." Then he said to them all, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will save it. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world, yet lose or forfeit his very self? If anyone is ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of him when he comes in his glory and in the glory of the Father and of the holy angels." This Bible passage has so many choice nuggets that we could study it for a month. There's the eternal question that Jesus asked Peter, and really all of us: who do you say that I am? That's the million-dollar question. To you, is Jesus just some prophet from long ago? Is he simply a smart guy or a good teacher? Or is he the Christ, the Messiah, the anointed one sent from God to save your life? Then there's the prediction of his suffering, death, and resurrection. The foreshadowing of his victory over death at Easter. That's a great verse too. And also the great paradox that we find life by picking up our own crosses and following Jesus. Gaining the whole world but losing our very self in the process is no bargain. All of that is good stuff. But this morning, the verse I want to talk to you about is the last verse, verse 26. "If anyone is ashamed of me and of my words, the Son of Man," and that's the title Jesus uses for himself, "if anyone is ashamed of me, then the Son of Man will be ashamed of him when he comes in glory." This passage starts out so promising with Peter's confession that Jesus is the Christ. So why does Jesus end with this verse about being ashamed of him? And this has always troubled me, this verse. But as with most verses that trouble me in the Bible, it's not that I don't understand it. It's that I understand it all too well, and it hits too close to home. I have staked my life on the confession that Jesus is the Christ of God, the only one who can save us. But I have to admit that there are times when I have been reluctant to tell people that. You know what I'm talking about. There are times and places where I've not spoken up to other people about Jesus. Times when I could have said something and instead chose to say nothing, or worse yet, refused to claim my identity as a follower of Christ. A week ago, while we were on vacation down in North Carolina, we stopped in to visit my old seminary at Duke University. We spent some time in the gorgeous chapel, and we looked at the old places that I hung out. I showed my kids where places I used to go and things I used to do. And we even got to go down onto the basketball court, that hallowed ground, Cameron Indoor Stadium. And we had a private tour of Duke's Hall of Fame, including looking at the National Basketball Championship trophies. There were good memories there, but there were also some that filled me with regret. I remembered back when I was in school there so many years ago. Yes, there is a divinity school at the center of campus. And Duke is a United Methodist University, but as with big schools like this, there are a lot of students there from every background. And most students who go there for something much different than growing closer to God. In fact, for a majority of the young students there, being a follower of Jesus is a pretty strange idea. And saying that you're going to be a pastor can clear out a table at the student center faster than announcing that you have swine flu. And so often I just wouldn't say anything. Or if somebody asked me what I was doing there, I would say I was a graduate student, which was true, but not exactly an opening for sharing Christ. They might have needed Jesus, but I was too embarrassed to say anything. Now, I wish I could say that I've gotten over that reluctance to boldly invite others to faith in Christ. But every now and then I still find myself kicking myself for not speaking up. Just the other day, I was carrying a squash out of the community garden when a man riding on a bike stopped and shouted, "Hey, that looks like a bird. Do you want to sell me your squash?"